Hi, and welcome to our first Container Freight Futures Competition webinar. I'm Vincent from Bands Financial, and with me is Johnson Leung. He's the Director of Line Analytica, a shipping data analysis firm. And together, we're going to go through a few key features of the shipping container freight contract today. We're also going to cover essentially how to actually trade and how to use the trading software that we're going to be using throughout the competition. So I'll be covering the technical aspect. I'll be showing you all these steps from how to log in to how to actually execute trades, where to see information, and make sure that you're all familiar with how to use the entire environment. And then Johnson is going to go a bit more in depth into how actually the contract itself looks like, some of the terminology, and also where the current market is actually at the moment. With that, I'll go ahead and share my screen right away. And I'll first show you just very quickly a helpful resource that we've prepared on our website. So once you have to see my screen here. So with that, if we go to our website here on the competition page, you can see we have a menu here on the side with an Esunny user guide. So if at any point after the webinar today, you're just looking for a few small details, you can just go to this part of the website here, and you'll be able to find a lot of the information I'm covering today as well. But today, I just want to go through the software itself. And to get started with, when you install Esunny, you're going to be greeted by this screen here. And you essentially have two sections. You have one up here where you see your market information. So you have the different contracts, they're monthly contracts, or rather bi-monthly contracts. So you right now have June, August, October, December, February, and April. And you see the latest price, bid and ask price. So basically what the market is offering and the price at which the market is willing to buy from you. You see the trading volume as well as some other market information. And if you look below, you can see that you have your account information here. However, right now I'm not actually logged in, so that means obviously you're not going to be able to see anything here. So to actually log in, you just go to the top left corner. You see a button here, Trade Login. And from here, you can simply type your account name, which should have been sent to you by email. So I have my test account here. And with that, I log in. And so now I can see the information that I have about my account here. Looking at the bottom part of the screen, I can see a bit of key information about my account. First of all, I have my account equity right here in this tab. This is basically showing me how much my account right now is worth in total, including everything, taking into account all the positions I have, all the profits and losses, and all the money that is in the account. The next thing to look at is this position tab here. This will show you every position in your account that you actually have. So it means if you bought or sold a contract, it's going to show up in here as a position when you open it. And when you close the contract, that is, if you initially bought, let's say, 10 contracts, 10 lots, and you then sell 10 lots and close the position, obviously it's going to go back to zero. So at this point, it's going to disappear from here. However, if you look at your order history, you will still be able to see any order that you actually placed. So right now I can see that previously I placed an order that got filled. And well, you see the order status here. I see that this was a buy order. I see it was for the August contract, and I can see which price I actually sent the order. I can also see here, for example, there was an issue where the order was rejected. This is because I logged in last night after the trading hours were already over, the market was closed. And obviously outside of the market hours, you can't actually place an order. So that's why the order was rejected. So you can see basically what happened to your order. If you're ever wondering why something you're doing isn't showing up in your position, just go to the orders tab and you'll be able to figure out what's happening to the order. Obviously, if you're still not sure what's happening, that's what we're here for. So you can just give us a call or reach out to us by email. The next tab here is the match tab. This has nothing to do with football. or Champions League. Instead, it's simply about all the filled orders. So you can see, as I mentioned, I placed 2 orders, one that was rejected last night and one that was filled just earlier today. In the filled order, I can also see here in the match tab. So basically, any order that is matched, that is, if you wanted to buy, somebody else wanted to sell at that price, the engine matched the order, it's going to show up in here. And again, you can see basically the quantity, the price, the direction. So in this case, this was an open buy order. And if I want to close it, it would have to be a close sell order, and a few other details. If you right click on here, you can actually also export this if you want to export it as a CSV, for example. And the same goes with any of these options here. You can also configure your columns here. So if you want to move a few things around, you just right click, click on config column, and then you can move all of these up or down, left and right, or hide or display some of these. So you can customize the entire interface here, basically. And lastly, if we go to the very right here on the balance tab, you can see some information about the money that you have in your account and what it's being used for. By default, this is going to show up as base. Base essentially is a USD conversion of everything that is in your account. However, since this is a Chinese market focused trading competition, what you want to look at is your CNY account. And this basically just shows you the information in CNY. Right now, I can see that, again, my entire account is worth about 909,000, and I'm using 75,000 RMB as initial margin. So that is essentially the sort of guarantee or the percentage of the contract value that I'm paying to actually essentially own the right to that contract. So usually on the futures market, when you're buying or selling, the whole point of having a futures market is that you don't need to actually buy the full physical asset, you just buy the contract. And in this case, in the futures market, you don't pay the full contract value, you just pay a small percentage of the contract value. So in this case, when it comes to freight futures, this percentage is usually between 17 and 18% at the moment for most contracts. However, this can change depending on the exchange as well. So depending on the risk environment, there is some flexibility to this. But right now, essentially, all you need to know is that the amount of money that you're going to be using for one contract is about 17 or 18% of that contract value. There's a few other details here that you can look at, but I don't want to go into too much detail here. I'm just providing you a bit of an overview here. Obviously, again, if you have any questions later, feel free to ask in the Q&A, or obviously anytime after that as well. Now, we figured out what all these buttons you do. The next thing I want to show you is where to actually find some more information about the market. Because obviously right now, you can see where the current price is. You can maybe even see the daily opening, highest, lowest price, etc. But it doesn't really tell you much about where the market is in relation to yesterday, last week, a month ago, or even last year. So if you want to find out any more information, we may want to look at a chart here. One more thing regarding these contracts, you have a few more options up here. The index contract essentially is just a sort of sum total of all the different monthly contracts. So you can see if you add up all these trading volumes here, you'll get the index trading volume. So it's not an actual contract, it's just a sum of all the other contracts to give an overview of what the market is doing. The main contract here is simply a continuous main contract. So whichever contract is currently the most active is considered the main contract. And the reason this is helpful is, if you think about it, you have monthly contracts, and obviously these contracts expire at some point. So last August, when the contract was first launched, the April contract, April 2024, was the first available contract and used to be the most active contract. However, obviously, this at some point expired, the positions were settled, and now you don't have the April 2024 contract anymore. So if you want to know what the most traded, what the price of the contract was over the last few months, you may want to refer to the most active contract as an indication of which contract best reflects where the overall market is at. And so in order for you to not have to go and see, okay, at this point in time, the April contract was the most active contract. Then it was the June contract, and now it's the August contract, etc., etc. You can basically just go to the main contract tab, and you're going to see a continuous line that always shows you the most important contract essentially over time. And then we have one more, the spot contract. And the spot contract here is simply the nearest contract. So if you want to know what happened to the nearest contract again over time, it doesn't matter whether it's the June contract or once this one expires, it's going to be the August contract, etc., etc. It's always going to be the nearest contract. And again, this is going to be a continuous line back to the first contract in April this year. We can see this if we go to the June 2024 tab. We want to see, just double click on this one, and this opens the market window here. And you have a few options here for adjusting this. For example, you can adjust the frequency of the time interval here. And for example, if you want to see what happened today, maybe I want to see a 1 hour chart, or if I just want to see a bit of an overview of what happened over the last few days, I can go to the daily chart. And this is simply going to give me an overview of what happened every single day throughout the trading time of this contract. So you can see that right now, obviously, the curve has been flattening out a little bit. But if I click again here, I can see a date window as well. So I can see that right around early April, we've seen quite a bit of a rise here. And this lasted until about mid-May. And since then, the June contract has been relatively flat. If I look down here, I can see some more information. These bars here are showing me the daily trading volume. So again, if I click and I go to this level here, I can see that, for example, on the 29th of April, the trading volume was just around about 60,000 lots. And if I go back here, for example, to late December, right when the Red Sea crisis was heating up, the Suez Canal was being blocked and all that, you had a surge in trading volume, for example, and we had over 260,000 lots traded in that contract. The other line of interest here is the open interest line. And this essentially shows you how many open positions there are. So that means if you have, well, it's an indication of essentially commitment in the market. If you see that there are a lot of open positions, that essentially means a lot of people have large positions. And that means they are committed to those positions. They're not just opening a position and then closing it again, which might show you that they're not so sure about the market and they want to essentially get out of the market right now. So right now, for example, I have 2 lots here. I have 1 buy position, 1 sell position. And so my open interest essentially is 2 lots. This is just the open position that I have. And this has changed significantly over time. We can see here this essentially started rising again around about very early March. And open interest then in this contract peaked again in early May. And since then it's been dropping. This is because the main contract sort of shifted away from June to the August contract. If I want to go back and see all different contracts, I just go to the top left, click on the grid button here, and now I can see all the different contracts again. And as we mentioned, we just look at this again here, June day, and we can see that. So we look at this right now in May. That's when the open interest essentially started shrinking in the June contract. And if we want to see if this is something that happened across the market, if people just essentially were unsure about where the market was headed, or if this was simply because this contract was getting closer to expiry, we can simply take a look at the August contract. If you use your mouse wheel, you can just scroll up or down and you can switch between different contracts as well. And so now I can see we're in the August contract. And let's take another look here at early May. And we can see that, in fact, the number of open positions started to rise. So that means we have, again, the June contract, where this was starting to drop off eventually here, while here in the August contract, it was relatively steady or it was still rising even. So that means the June trend is not reflected across the entire market. It might just be because the June contract is approaching expiry, so people want to close out their position there. and then move their position to a different contract further out. If we want to confirm that, we can, for example, go back here and look at the main contract. Again, the main contract always shows us the most active contract. So if we look at this here, we can see that basically the trading volume here was quite steady across the main contract, and the open interest also stayed relatively stable. So that means the most active contract continued to be active, and people continued to have open positions in that contract. And the June contract essentially does not reflect the overall market sentiment. If we can also look, for example, at the index contract, which again shows us a total of the entire market. And we can see, in fact, again, this has been staying very stable. So this is basically, if you add up all the different trading volumes, open interest across every single contract, that's how you get the index contract here. Now, we've now seen the market. If we want to see the market data, again, you just double click on here and it's going to open that window. And if you right click here, you can actually also use a few more useful functions here. You can click here and create a price alert. So that means if you, for example, want to know, or if you want the system to alert you when the contract hits a certain price level, either because you have a long position, you're worried that the contract is going to fall, you can set an alert so that if the price falls below a certain level, you will get a notification and then you can take action, for example, in that market. If you go to config column here, you can also modify your interface. So that means if you want to, again, readjust where these columns show up, you can basically do that here. Now, lastly, you have a few more tabs here. These are more useful in the full version of the software. Right now, we have one single contract here that we're actually trading. So that means there's not that much here to configure. But yeah, it's there in the full version. It's a bit irrelevant, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. There's a few more smaller options here again, where you can basically adjust what kind of chart you're seeing. Again, this is very flexible. You can adjust this to your liking. You can just try it out. It's not really going to do anything bad, so no worries about trying that. And you have a few more options here. The option tab is, for this competition, irrelevant because the INE EC contract does currently not have any options contracts. That means you can't use that. But for example, you have this spread tab, and this might be useful if at some point you have, say, a June position. And again, because we saw that the June position was essentially, well, trading volume is decreasing, the open interest is decreasing. So that means over time, it's going to get more and more difficult for me to actually close my position out. Let's assume instead of having one position only, I have maybe 1,000 lots in terms of my position here. And in this case, if we look at the daily trading volume, it's now only around maybe a few thousand lots per day. It might at some point be very difficult for me to do anything in this position if I want to exit the position. So that means I would ideally at some point like to shift this position to a different month. And in this case, I can just go to the spreader here, and I can basically I can do what we call a roll, which is I can buy back the June contract and then sell the August contract to essentially move my position from June to August. Now, at the very basic level, if we just want to buy or sell, you simply select the contract that you want to actually deal in. So let's go with the August contract because it's the most active. And you can see as soon as I click on here, it's also going to update the contract in this window here. So if I go on June, you can see it's updated in June, and back to August, we got August again. And then you can basically choose which price you want to show by default. So right now it's essentially showing the opposite price. That is, if I want to buy, it's going to show me the price that somebody else is willing to offer. If I want to sell, it's going to show me the price that somebody else is willing to pay essentially for the contract. And so right now I can see that's around about here. Just click on this, it's going to update the price, but I can also enter my own price. So if I, for example, would like to let's say I want to buy one lot. I can do this at 5,000. I just type 5,000 here, and it's going to update all these prices here. So you can do this automatically. Just click on here to use the market price, or you just type it in here, and at that point it's going to update and override the market price, and now you have basically your fixed price. Here in the quantity tab, I simply adjust how much I want to actually buy or sell. Let's say I want to buy 5 lots. Just type 5 in here. And then I now have the options to basically, you see these buttons here are essentially updating as I click on this. In this case, red just means buy, green means sell, and gray means close out. I will show very shortly what this means. So let's say I now want to open my position here. I click on buy. This window here pops up, and this is going to confirm essentially what I'm actually trying to do. So I can see here, I have my account, I have the exchange, I have the contract. I'm trying to buy, open 5 lots at 5,000. And the valid type just indicates how long your order is valid. In the Chinese market, it just means if you place an order, it's going to be valid for the rest of the day. And then the next day, basically your order gets canceled. So if you have an active order that has not been filled, it just means it's going to stay active for 1 day only and not until the next trading day. Now, if I mentioned I already have a long position here. I now want to maybe close this position out. I can see I've made a bit of a profit here, so I'm happy to take this profit, and I want to basically de-risk and get rid of this position. You might think, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and sell. But in actual fact, if I just sell, I can, I'm basically going to, well, I can sell, but what's going to happen is, let's try that again. I think I may just have, I think 5,000 probably is a bit too far away from the market. We can see the price right now is 4,500. So buying at 5,000 probably is outside the daily price range. But in any case, let's try 4,400. And let's sell now, 1 lot. And yeah, more successful now. And I can see I now have, very strangely, a sell position and a buy position here. So you might be wondering at this point, what does this mean? This doesn't make any sense. You're buying 1 lot, you're selling 1 lot. Doesn't that mean technically you shouldn't be having any of this position? And the answer is, in non-Chinese markets, yes. In the Chinese market, you can have 2 offsetting positions. And that is why you have this gray button here. The gray button basically just means this is what you use for closing out a position. So if I click on here and I would like to cover, or I would like to close out this position, instead of selling, I just use the gray button. It's automatically going to sell with a close tag and actually going to close the position out. So at this point, since it's buy, we need to be a bit higher than the market. So let's go 4,510. And let's click on cover here. And we can see now I'm selling with a close tag, so because I'm trying to close the position. So if I do that, let's see, is the order going through? Yes, but it's not getting filled right now. Okay. Might be the market is not too keen on that. Let's cancel that. So again, if you want to cancel an order at any point, you just click on order cancel and it goes away. We can try again. And actually the quicker way of doing this is to just go to opposite close. And you're just going to close it out at the current market price. Let's try that again. And now we're just waiting until the price actually hits my price. And we can see just got filled. And so now my buy order here, or sorry, my buy position has disappeared. So that means if you want to close your position, the easiest way is really just to right click on here. And in this case, again, I have a sell position. So at this point, if I want to close it, I need to buy with a close tag. Right click on here. And you can, again, if you click on opposite close, it just means it's going to select the current bid or ask price on the other side of the market. So basically, since I'm buying, it's basically going to select the price that somebody at this point is willing to sell at. So if I again click on this.
Oh, can you adjust the price right here?
Yes, I can. That's what this button here is for. So again, right now, because I sent this at the market price, the order is still working. I can actually modify an active order as well. So for example, if I want to do this here, right now the order is not getting filled. Maybe the market is not moving in my favor. So I just right click, order replace. And now at this point, I can, for example, say, okay, I'm willing to buy at a higher price. I just want to get a fill here. Let's go 4,520. I can even adjust the quantity here, for example, as well. But okay, now it already got filled, so I didn't need to enter worst price. But just to maybe show you again, let's send an order here. Let's take October, and let's say I want to buy at 3,500. So that's significantly below the current market price. And obviously this order is not going to get filled. So if at the end of the day, I decide, okay, you know what? I really just want to get this filled. I don't really care about the price. I can again right click on my order here. So you can see new order just means this is a new order that was placed. It's not yet filled. So right click here, order replace. And I can see, okay, my current price is 3,500. However, the market price right now, well, if I want to buy, I'm probably going to need to pick the ask price here. So that's 3,575, 76. So let's go with something in that range here, 3,500, and let's just put 80 in here. And the thing about this is, if you send the order at 3,580, this is your price limit. This essentially tells the matching engine, I'm willing to buy at any price up to 3,580. It doesn't mean you're actually going to get this price if there's a better price available. So in this case, let's say I'm even willing to pay 3,600. The market right now is at 3,580. So I should get a better fill than 3,600. I'm simply telling the computer, this is the most I'm willing to pay. But if you can get a better price, please give me the better price, obviously. So we can do this. We can see it's immediately filled. And we can go to a match tab, and we can see the October order here was filled at 3,584. So even though I sent the order at 3,600, it was actually filled at a better price because, again, the price at which you send the order is your maximum price. It's the worst price you're willing to pay. But if you can get a better price, it's going to give you a better price, obviously. And yeah, so in this case, if I now want to close out my October position, let's say I would like to sell this one here, and we have, again, the current market around about 3,570. So let's go. I'm willing to say sell at even lower. I just click on cover, and this is going to send the position here. The market, and again, this is how you essentially send your closeout order at a custom price. Just use the gray button. And again, you can see it's filled. And now my position is closed out. And very quickly, for the end of this demonstration, I'm just going to very briefly close out this one here. And so now I can see, okay, basically I have no active positions anymore. I'm out of the market at this point. Here I can see my order history. If I want to know what I actually bought and paid over the time today, I can right click, save this as, and for example, save this as a CSV. And lastly, I can check again how much money I have in the account. And this is basically going to show me, okay, where am I currently at? What's going on with my account? And yeah, that's really it, basically. To recap, when you open up, you just quickly log in over here in the top left corner. To log out, just click on there again, log out. Apart from that, you actually have a few more options here. Sorry, if you click on trade, you can change your password, which I would recommend you do once you log in for the first time. And you have a few other options that are irrelevant essentially for this demonstration, at least, or for this sort of limited environment where you only have one contract. And then you have your market information screen here. So again, you see all your different contracts. Double click on one contract to open up the chart and adjust up here what exactly you would like to see in terms of the frequency. So again, 30-minute frequency, for example, 1-day frequency, and you have a few more options here, whether you want to see certain average lines, etc. So you can do quite a bit. You even have some drawing tools, for example, if you want to do some technical analysis. These are going to be things we cover later on throughout the competition, though. But if you would like to try it out, give it a shot. Otherwise, again, feel free to ask, obviously, and we're always happy to assist with that. And again, to return to my screen here, click on the grid button. And if you quickly want to cycle between contracts, just use your mouse wheel. And again, you can see it cycling between different contracts. And then if you would like to buy or sell, you go down here to your order section. And then here, basically over here, you determine the contract you want to buy or sell, the quantity, the price, the quantity, and then whether you want to buy or sell and open a position, or use the gray button to close a position. And it's going to automatically select whether you need to buy or sell in this case. Very quickly, I'm just going to cover a few more of the rules here actually for the competition just here, so you're aware of those. The trading hours for the market here are just the trading hours of the actual exchange. So that means it goes from 9 to 10:15. Then in the Chinese market, they have a bit of a coffee break, and then a bit of a lunch break as well from 11:30 to 1:30. So obviously, you can only trade during active hours when there actually is an active market. In your account, as an individual, you should be able to see a balance of RMB 8 million. Again, by default, this is going to show up as USD. So that's why you might be wondering, why am I only seeing 1.25 million? Well, actually, you're seeing USD 1.25 million, something like that. And you want to shift this to CNY, and you should be able to see you actually have 8 million in there. And one thing to note here is you can only place a single order with at most 50 lots. So that means if you're trying to buy 100 lots, you can do that, but you're going to need to send this as 2 different orders. So you can send one 50-lot order and one 50-lot order and still get 100 lots. But this is essentially a risk management tool that in a real market environment, any broker that you have is going to give you a fat finger limit. The idea is very simply, let's say I want to buy 10 lots and oops, I accidentally typed 2 zeros here. That's what this is trying to prevent, because believe it or not, even in professional markets, these things happen. And well, significant issues have been caused in the past in different markets because people type too many zeros on various contracts. So that's really what this is for. Similarly, when we earlier had this order rejection, because I was essentially trying to buy at a price too high. So if we do this again, basically, let's say 5,200. This is for the April 2025 contract. If I try to buy at this price, and let's type maybe 1 lot here. This is going to be, again, rejected, the same rejection message earlier, because this is outside the daily price range. This is, again, a risk management tool. Because the idea is that, let's say this is very close to 2,000 right now. So let's say I want to buy at 2,000. Again, oops, I typed 1 zero too many, and now I'm buying at 20,000. This is obviously something the market is trying to prevent, because this could cause issues when something like that shows up in the market, and obviously losses for whoever is doing that. So that's why the system is automatically rejecting any order that is significantly outside a reasonable price range. So these are the 2 limits you want to pay attention to. There's a price limit for your contract. You can't buy or sell at significantly more or less than what the contract is basically limited to for that day. And then you can only buy 50 contracts at one time. Apart from that, we covered initial margin. You approximately need to pay essentially 18% for every single contract. So that means if you have 10 lots, you can essentially calculate the contract value by taking the current market price, multiplying that by 50 RMB, and that gives you how much one single lot is worth. So again, let's say the contract is at 1,000 times 50. One contract is now 50,000. and 18% of that is what you actually need to have in your account to be able to open one position. So for 10, again, that's 500,000 RMB worth of contract basically, and 18% of that you need to have in your account. And if it happens that you make a very, very large loss and you have a position, but you do essentially the amount of money in your account drops below what is required to essentially have this position, at that point, you essentially run into a margin call. And we have a sort of simplified system here for the competition, at least. We're not going to give you a call and force you to pay us any money. The system is simply going to automatically close out some of your loss-making positions over time to basically get you back to a zero level. Yeah, but with that, I think we've covered some of the key points here. Again, if you're unsure, a lot of that information is in the little rule book here that we have on our page. And obviously, we have a Q&A later as well if you have any further questions.